From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans, this is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Fazende, riding shotgun each and every podcast is Andre Johnson.
Junior.
Not forget the Junior. Very important, remember the JR at the end of the name. Before we get into today's content, be sure to like, to share, to rate, to review. If you are watching us on YouTube, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Get the bell notification for when we drop that fire content. Also, hello to the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. Glad you have found us here, and we will be here for a while. Just stay tuned throughout the season. We'll be here, as will a lot of other programming and content will be here. So if you found us, thank you. Tell your friends. Let them know. A new network is in town, and it's the best content you're going to find anywhere around town. All right, Andre, Friday, City of New Orleans. Interesting, normally on Friday, first Friday of fall, first Friday of college football season, we'd be prepping for high school football right now, but for whatever reason, the high school football season will start next week. I know Labor Day is a little early this year, September 1st. So we kind of have a knock on wood here, relatively low-key Friday, our last one for quite some time, let's be honest, because once high school football gets started, it is 100 miles an hour for all of us. So with that in mind, the Saints got a little break this weekend. They take a few days off. They come back. They start practice again on Monday. Then they really turn the page to Arizona and get in game week. So with that in mind, and with the quarterback situation finally settled,
turn the page.
We can now turn the page to different topics. And honestly, there's been so much negative chatter around the Saints. There's been so much quarterback talk around the Saints, negative talk about the Saints, and then separately quarterback talk just in general. That has really taken over, I guess, the narrative so much, so to speak, when it comes to where the Saints currently stand. So today, I wanted to get into a couple things based off of what we've witnessed about where we think the Saints will be strongest in 2025. Before we get into that, how you feeling on this Friday?
I'm feeling good because, you mentioned it. There's no high school. Normally on a Friday, we've got high school football tonight. We're thinking ahead to LSU and Tulane, who do play tomorrow. LSU, against Clemson, Tulane, Northwestern. We still got Nichols and Southeastern playing as well. So we got all the college teams. We're looking ahead to Sunday for the Saints. So this is probably the calmest Friday that we're going to get over the next 3 months.
Yeah, don't get much calmer than this.
So, we're enjoying this. But like you mentioned, it's been very glass half empty.
It really has.
Surrounding the Saints lately, whether you're talking about the quarterback situation, if you like one, if you like the other, if you don't like either one of them, record predictions with the Saints, a lot of glass half empty. But today we're filling that glass. It's glass full. It's half full today as we talk about the strongest positions for the Saints this year, Sean. What we thinking?
Okay, so I have positions, but I also have just, you'll see how I break this down, how I worked it. First off, I'm going to start with this. I think the overall foundation of the defense is on solid footing. I love the young coordinator in Brandon Staley. He is still a very young coordinator. He's been a head coach. He's got a very unique. He comes from the Vic Fangio tree, but he's got a very modern approach to today's combating today's offenses, and I think the players have really gravitated to that because remember, even before Dennis Allen was the coach here, he was defensive coordinator here. They've run the same system here for quite a while when it comes to the defensive side of the football. So I think the shift to the 3-4 look with Brandon Staley, I think as I watch this team, as best as I can project, I think just overall they're on solid footing, and I think they have a chance to be a respectable top half of the league defense. Within that, what do I like? Well, I like the edge position. I know this is risky, but I think Chase Young can have a big year. I really think Chase Young can have a big year. He's there. He's the guy. He's always right there. Just finish. It's got to be sort of his mantra going into the season. But I think if he has a big season, that 3-year, $51 million contract will look like an absolute bargain. I love Carl Granderson. He's been the most underrated Saints defender since he's been here. Yeah. I think Cam Jordan will flourish in the role of being sort of a spot starter, coming in different packages. I think Jonathan Bullard's also in the mix there. Chris Rump's also in the mix. I think the edge position will be better this year. I also think the commitment to stopping the run will be better this year. And that all goes back to one man, Davon Godchaux. Davon Godchaux, they brought in for specifically that purpose. And I think you saw that in that Broncos game when they played against the Broncos starters, how much they are committed to stopping the run. So if you got a couple of nice edge pass rushers that you like, you got a nice run stuffer that you like, now you see why I think this defense is on solid footing. And I will add one more position to that. I like the safety position. That was a huge worry for all of us going into the season. Tyron retires, even more worrisome. Then they bring in Julian Blackmon. I mean, it's like he's been here for 5 years. He fit right in. He plays well off of Justin Reed. I don't like Jordan Houghton as a starter, but I love him as a third safety. You bring in J.T. Gray. I love Jonas Sanker, the young player, the young rookie. I think he's going to contribute as well. So I think the safety position is really good. You got the edge position, run defense, and safety. Like, that's good. That is a good, solid start to your defense. What else do I like? And this might end up being the best thing about this team this year. I love 2/3 of the special teams.
Okay.
2/3. One is obvious. He might be the most confident guy in the locker room right now, even though he's the smallest and lightest. That is Blake Grupe. Blake Grupe is playing out of his mind right now. That was one of the best training camps I've ever seen a kicker have. And when he kicks it, he's not even watching the ball go through. He knows it's going in.
He's doing Steph Curry turnarounds?
He's doing all that. He's looking at the Broncos sideline because they were chit-chatting back and forth before that game. And during that game, he kicked it and looked right over there and said, what's up? They may be kicking a lot of field goals this year. And look, you may have to depend on the leg of Blake Grupe from 57, 58, 59, 60 yards out. And if he's going to deliver, he's going to deliver. I think Blake Grupe might be poised to have a big season. So I love the Blake Grupe operation of the Saints special teams. What else do I like? None of us have paid enough attention to this. All of us covering the team. But I just went back and just kind of refreshed on some things, some notes that I had taken down from some previous games. Went back and checked the stats. Have you noticed how good they've been returning kickoffs? They've been very good returning kickoffs in the special teams. Now, look, it's preseason, and sometimes that can, skew some of the data when it comes to return stats. Because, let's be honest, a lot of guys aren't going to make the team. They're playing special teams right there, but a lot of guys make the teams because of special teams.
That's true.
But Velus Jones Jr., Kendre Miller early on. I think Dante Pettis is a guy who was running more punts. Rashid Shaheed, we know, can do it. The return game was solid, was good. I think that's something you can at least depend on. You're going to need every inch you can get this season, okay? You're going to need it. So I love Blake Grupe and the confidence he's playing with. I don't love the idea of having an offense, dependent on your kicker, but we've done this before in New Orleans. Remember the Dome Patrol with old Morton Anderson? The Dome Patrol days? They stopped the offenses. Morton Anderson provided the offense. So I like that aspect of the operation. And the final thing that I like that I think is going to be strong, I don't know, this quality is going to help. Now, you can't just have this quality, but I do think it's important to have, and I think it's something Kellen Moore has emphasized even before, even when he was talking in generics, he was mentioning this, and I think that has come to fruition. I love the team speed on offense. I think the team speed on offense is a very real thing. You look at Velus Jones Jr. in the backfield, fastest guy in the backfield. You look at Rashid Shaheed. You look at Chris Olave. You look at Mason Tipton, who can run. You look at Brandon Cooks, who can still run. Devon Vele ran a 4.47. Now, he's a long strider, but it's still 4.47. Yeah. So they're going to play into that identity. They're going to play into the identity of being a fast offense, which is much different than what they did a season ago, where they were built through a lot of bigger personnel, a lot of play action, a lot of multiple tight ends, multiple backs on the field. I'd be willing to bet they're going to play a lot more 11 personnel this year with 3 wide receivers on the field and just get the ball to the playmakers and let them run. You can't always win like that. You can't just win with the fast team, but I do think that's the identity Kellen Moore is going to want to embrace with this offense. And I think if you watch them, it's obvious. They are a much faster football team on offense, which I think can certainly help. So that's where I'm at. Defense, solid foundation, edge position, run defense, safety position. 2/3 of the special teams with Blake Grupe in the return game, and team speed on offense. What about you?
The first place I thought when I was thinking about the strengths of this team, I looked defensively just like you, but specifically the front seven. I really love the Saints front seven. You know, we talked about the edge rushers and how hopefully Brandon Staley in a new system can unlock a Chase Young, can continue Carl Granderson's growth. You know, Cam Jordan, he can show his versatility in spots. But even more than I love the edge rushers, I love the interior of the defensive line. You know, Devon Godchaux, I think, is perfect for this system. He's a guy, when he was in New England, who played in a very similar system. It's something that the Saints have struggled with. Once upon a time, they were locked down when it came to stopping the run.
Yeah.
Then that had kind of stopped
yeah.
over the last few years. Devon Godchaux can help them get back to that. And then the guy who, in my opinion, was arguably the best defensive player on the team last year, Brian Brzee. You know, Brian Brzee is going to step into a newer role this year, but I think it's a role that helps him more than it hurts him, because Brian Brzee, his quote-unquote weakness probably as an interior defensive lineman was stopping the run. But when it comes to getting after the passer, he had become the Saints' best pass rusher. He led the team in sacks last year, and now he's going to be in a position where he can do a little more pass rushing because of the addition of Devon Godchaux. And then a guy who really stuck out in the preseason, a guy who did a lot to make this team, Christian Boyd. Christian Boyd was really good in the preseason. He had the almost safety that was a sack against the Chargers. He had another sack against the Broncos. So Christian Boyd, I think, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see him mix in. I just love the depth that you have across that defensive line, the versatility that you have across that defensive line, because Brian Brzee can play multiple positions. Cam Jordan can play multiple positions. There's a little versatility that comes with Chase Young and Carl Granderson because they've seen these different systems. Then you go to the linebackers. I really like their depth at linebacker too. I mean, Demario Davis, if Brian Brzee's not the best player on defense, it's Demario Davis. Demario Davis is still going strong. You've got Pete Werner, and then I think we saw some interesting linebacker play throughout the preseason, especially from Danny Stutzman. You know, Danny Stutzman stepping into that room, I think he's a guy in a rotational role that can have a pretty big spot on this defense as well. So I'm looking at the defensive line. I'm looking at the linebackers. I like what I see. You mentioned the safeties. I like their safeties too. I mean, when Tyrann Mathieu retired, it was kind of like, oh man, like the secondary was already a concern on this team. What are they going to do without the Honey Badger? Julian Blackmon's done a great job. Justin Reed is everything that you paid him to be. Jonas Sanker, the rookie, has done a great job so far in the training camp and in preseason. Jordan Howden in that role could provide, you know, valuable experience. My only real concern in the defense, I really like the Saints defense. They could potentially be a top 10 unit. My only concern is corner right now. You know, with Alontae Taylor's health and, you know, flux right now, we don't exactly know where he is in his recovery from his preseason injury. Kool-Aid McKinstry expected to step into a big role. I like what Ugo Amadi did a lot in the preseason. I think he played really well in the preseason. Isaac Yiadom, I liked him the first time around. He made a lot of, now he gave up some plays, but he made a lot of plays his first time around in New Orleans. I'm excited to see him back. And Quincy Riley, who had an interception in that last game. So you've got a lot of potential at that cornerback position. You just don't have a lot of guys who have done it yet. So I'm not saying they're going to be down. We've just got to see it. So that's what I like on defense. Then you switch over to the offensive side of the ball. This is, I think it'll be a strength, and to be frank, it needs to be a strength for this team to play competitive football. I love the running back room. Alvin Kamara, your best player on the team, the most versatile player that you've got on the team, outside of Taysom Hill. I'm not counting him right now because he's injured. But Alvin Kamara, we know what he can do at running back. You know, he took a career high in touches last year and was effective throughout the season. Then when you look at the backs behind him, I think you've got some legitimate backs that can take touches off of AK. Because my biggest concern with him hasn't been his performance lately. It's been the amount of times that he's getting the ball, you know, especially at his age. But Kendre Miller, for the first time since he's been in New Orleans, had a healthy preseason. And he looked good in spots throughout training camp and throughout the preseason. Then you look at Velus Jones Jr., kind of a surprise in that running back room. You mentioned the speed, you mentioned the athleticism, the versatility, his ability, he's a former receiver, to line up wide, to come out of the backfield and catch the ball. You know, so when you mix Kendre's running in with Velus Jones Jr.'s receiving ability, then you throw in the rookie Devin Neal, who looked good in that last preseason game, in a game where he needed to look good because he was probably on the bubble to potentially get cut going into cut day because we hadn't seen him all preseason. No. But Devin Neal came in and looked good. So when I look at Kendre Miller, I look at Velus Jones, I look at Devin Neal, my goal is just, hey, if we can take 10 to 12 touches off of AK a game, he will be better, he will last longer. Those 3 backs that I named, I think, are talented enough and have the skill set to where they can take 10 to 12 touches off of AK's plate. Maybe even more once Taysom Hill comes back. So I love the front 7. I really like the safety position. I like the depth that you have at running back. So that's my biggest strength for the Saints right now as we look ahead to week 1.
That's interesting, running back room, because it felt like they put a lot of emphasis on it.
They did.
You know, there was some talk about them even, you know, still looking elsewhere at some point to make sure they have enough there. There's no denying it. They're going to try to establish the line of scrimmage in the run game this year to help out early on. It'll obviously be Spencer Rattler at quarterback. I feel like that's their, you know, path to success. You know, when you really lay it out on defense, you know, if Lawrence Taylor is healthy,
yeah,
and Ugo is his backup, and then you got your 2 outside corners, and you know you got a Quincy Riley who's the backup. Was it Rejjon Wright also on the mix as well, who's played some ball.
You look good in that last preseason game.
You're okay. I mean, you're okay. This is why I said the foundation is solid on defense. And I probably could have characterized. I mean, I'll name the run defense and the edge passers. I probably could have just said the entire front 7 because I think Stutzman played well, as you mentioned. DeMario is going to be DeMario. I'm hoping for that even more of a burst from Pete Werner. The flashes that he's shown. Can he get to that next tier? Because look, at some point they're going to turn to him to be the guy at linebacker. You know, look, DeMario's in his 15th or 16th season in the NFL. So yeah, I do think there's a lot to be happy about or excited about it when it comes to that defense. Offensively, see, that's where, you know, enough of the concerns come in. Because if you have a top 13 defense,
yeah,
and you have a very good special teams unit, and you're still seeing people predict 4 wins, well, then what's the missing piece? We understand it obviously comes on the offensive side of the football, which you know, we've spent some time praising the strength of the team. Let's get into some of those weaknesses as I flip the page on my legal pad here, because I did write this down. There are some weaker spots. Look, this 6-11 is the lowest I've ever predicted the Saints to go into it. Since I have been covering the team, I have never predicted anywhere close to 6 wins. It's always been much more than that. I am a glass half full guy naturally.
And you're one of the more optimistic picks
I am a
at 6
glass
and 11.
half full guy to begin with. I just am. You were what, 4-13?
4-13.
Okay,
Sorry,
so if you
guys.
love the defense and you still have 4-13, obviously there's concerns on offense. So
Yep.
let's get into it. Of course, quarterback. Of course, and this is not a shot at Spencer or Tyler Shuck. Whoever, either one of those guys, it's brand new. One's a rookie, one's basically a rookie. And I went back and watched 4 of Spencer Rattler's games over the last 2 days. He looked like a rookie last year, and there are some things he has to get much better at to have success at this level. Tyler Shuck wasn't able to win the job. Clearly, they do not believe he is ready. And yet, that was a very close race. So you're talking about a complete unknown at the quarterback position. It's hard to win like that in the NFL if you have a complete unknown at quarterback, and you don't necessarily have a whole lot of excitement behind the starting quarterback. I think that there's a section of the fan base that's very excited about Spencer Rattler. There's a section of the fan base that's very excited about Tyler Shuck. But I promise you, if you ask around the league, there's not a whole lot of momentum building right now to the Saints quarterback room. It's the Saints quarterback's job to make them all pay and make them all and prove them wrong and make them eat their words. Also, and this really crept up in the final preseason game, I'm having my concerns about the offensive line, which is something I did not want to have. And the problem is, it's not the injury to Trevor Penning. He will be back at some point before the first 2 or 3 weeks. He may not play week 1, but he's going to be able to be back on the field at some point. But some of the inefficiencies of the mainstays is a little concerning. Well, I think we know what we're talking about. Cesar Ruiz has not had a good preseason. He's had some moments where he has looked a little bit lost. That is concerning because that's a non-negotiable. That's the non-negotiable. You are counting on your main starters, your former first-round picks, to be at a certain level so you can build through that offensive line and let that be the strength of your team. So that is concerning. Anything less than good offensive line-wise, if they are if they're less, so is it good, great, elite, okay? If they're less than good, say above average, no good. That's unacceptable.
Especially what you've put into
considering what you
line.
put into it. Offensive line remains a mystery to me, or remains a little bit of a concern for me. The complete mystery to me is the tight end room. You have Juwan, who I just went back and watched. Juwan is capable of making some big plays. He is also capable of making some big drops. That has just been Juwan's sort of journey to the tight end position. He is easily the best tight end on the team, and he has traits that are elite, but it has never come fully together for Juwan. But still, he will be dependent on. Behind him, without Taysom, who has been more in the quarterback room now, from what we understand, according to Kellen Moore yesterday on Thursday, who do you have? Mataveo, Moreau is out, Jack Stoll's on a practice squad, Trayton Welch on a practice squad. No, Jack Stoll's a practice squad? Yes, he's on a practice squad?
I think so, yeah.
I mixed them up a little bit there. But still, that room, I don't know who you turn to, which is another reason why I think there's going to be a lot more 3 wide receiver sets, at least until Foster Moreau and Taysom Hill gets back. So that's a concern. Another concern, I don't know what's going on at punter, okay? I don't know, because it sure feels like they kind of picked one by default in Kai Kroger. I mean, there's all these reports out there that they were still looking to make a trade for a guy late in the process. Could you imagine they were traded for a punter? Oh my goodness, the comments we would have had on this podcast. So I still have my concerns about punter, which obviously can impact field position if you're trying. And if you're going to play the defense and special teams game, which it certainly feels like that's the approach early on, you need a good punter that's going to manipulate the field position. And then finally, for me, we have to account for the inevitable learning on the job that comes with a rookie head coach. There are going to be moments where it happens. Kellen Moore is bright, enthusiastic, and you just talk to him, you know that guy is smart. But even some of the smartest people you know will make bad mistakes under the gun in an NFL game. Some of the best coaches you've ever seen, most experienced coaches you've ever seen, will make bad mistakes under the gun in an NFL game. It happens a lot with rookie head coaches. You hope it happens to a minimum with Kellen Moore, but that is coming. So that at least has to be factored into the equation of concern. It is still a rookie head coach finding his way, feeling his way through. There are so many things he's dealing with now that he's never had to deal with before, even as a quarterback. So that has to be accounted for as well.
Yeah, you know, we talked about the strengths. We got to mention the weaknesses as well. And I know we said we were done with the quarterback talk, but we do have, if you're talking about the weaknesses of this team, you have to mention the quarterbacks, you know. And I think right now, this whole Saints offensive equation is based around being able to run the ball, control the clock, and not fall behind early. Because I don't think whether you start Spencer Rattler, whether you start Tyler Shuck, I don't have confidence in either to win a game that they have to throw 35 times. If one of them has to throw the ball 35 times in a game, you're probably losing that game by a lot. It's all going to be, you know, controlling the clock, which is, again, when the Saints had that miracle start last year and they were 2-0, Derek Carr wasn't throwing the ball 28 times a game. He was throwing the ball like 13, 14 times a game because Alvin Kamara was working. Taysom Hill was working. You know, they were running the ball, which made the deep shots to Rashid Shaheed so much easier to get. That's kind of the equation that you're going to have to go with these young quarterbacks because Spencer Rattler, he's still, I mean, he's a second-year player. Even whether he won the job or not, he's a second-year player. He's coming off a rookie year where he only played, a third of the season? And again, he didn't have a lot of success in the third that he played. So Spencer Rattler is still going to have, you mentioned Kellen Moore learning on the job. Spencer Rattler is going to have to learn on the job. And you don't want him having to throw the ball 30, 35 times a game. So when I look at that quarterback room, it is a concern because there are some times where you can win by controlling the clock and running the ball. But if the Saints are in a situation where they have to win a shootout, where the quarterback has to take the game into his hands and win it 4 good quarters of play, we haven't seen Spencer Rattler do that yet. We haven't seen Tyler Shuck do anything yet. So I don't have, a lot of confidence in that quarterback room right now.
How can you have any confidence?
That's what I'm saying.
They just got to do it.
And it's not just Rattler. Despite me being labeled as a Spencer Rattler hater, it's Tyler Shuck too. I haven't seen enough from either quarterback to give me the confidence that they can go out there and win a high-scoring game. And this is the NFL. You're not always going to win 13-10 or 19-12. Sometimes you're going to have to win 35-28. Do we have a quarterback that can do that? We'll find out. I hope they do. I haven't seen enough to give me that confidence yet. You mentioned the offensive line, the starters. For me right now, the weakness is depth because all the depth that they spent the offseason building up, they lost during the preseason. Will Clapp goes down. Nick Saldiveri goes down. Landon Young goes down. Those are three, not just rotational pieces. They're three pieces with a lot of depth or versatility. Excuse me.
Experience.
Landon Young can play multiple positions. Will Clapp has played multiple positions. Nick Saldiveri, 4th-round pick. There was a little bit of hope there for Nick Saldiveri. Now you don't have those guys. So if something happens to one of those starters, you could potentially be in a tight position like you were last year. And my last concern, I mentioned it during the strengths, it's that cornerback room. There's so much that's unproven. Hopefully Alante can come back. Hopefully Riley, Kool-Aid, Yadam, or Ugo can step up and, all play well. But I mentioned I haven't seen it yet for the quarterback room. It's a lot of ifs in that cornerback room as well. So those would be my biggest concerns with the Saints right now.
Legit, all legit. And those concerns are clearly legit because you haven't seen anyone predict much success for the Saints this year.
Yeah.
In fact, it's more of the opposite extreme, which is, are they one of the worst teams in the NFL this year? That's more the common talk. So
I've seen a lot of Arch Manning and Garrett Nussmeier photoshops on the internet.
It's been a lot of that. So, look, next week we get into game week, and then this thing gets rolling. So they have their work cut out for them. They have some things they can lean in on. They do have some major concerns, and some of their concerns are big concerns that derail seasons. So we'll see if they figure that out. All right, we got to get out of here real quick. LSU at Clemson.
I'm going with LSU.
LSU.
They break the streak.
They do it. They go to Clemson. They get the job done. Nussmeier gets it done. All right, we got to get out of here. For Andre Johnson Jr., I'm Sean Fazende. Catch you guys next time on Overtime.